Hi, we're the Brightons coming to you live from our studio kitchen.
And man, our studio is ready, but we have been gone all weekend and just didn't.
We've been gone for two. What do you mean?
Yeah,
this
2
weekend?
weekends.
We've been here for two. So we got our, and then I just realized, I just told Richard right before we went on, because he needs to hang the sign, but I got it like an acrylic mirrored. It is so cool. It looks great on the grass wall, but didn't even think that the lights that we put up might reflect in
You know what? Even if it does, let's see. We'll check it out.
So we're gonna have to try it. So if that's the case, I think I might be spray glue adhesive on it.
You might have to bedazzle it.
I might have to bedazzle it because it looks so good though, but it just not.
Hey, well, we missed last week because we were in South Carolina visiting John Grace Church and visiting our daughter.
Who moved to Greenville, South
6
Carolina.
months ago.
So we got to have fun and we got to have some business. We got to hang out with some of the friends of ours, and comedians and producers, different things, and got to hang out with them. So that was fun. And
Emilio, what's up, my brother?
hey, and so last Sunday we were going to do the video in South Carolina. We actually put everything, we set it all up, and just when we did, the girls knocked on the door with the wings, and so we just didn't do it. By the time we finished,
we couldn't pass up the wings, you know?
Yeah, it was like 11 o'clock, so we didn't do it. Okay, so the Sunday before that, we did a video, and we did a video talking about the little things, but Richard and I were actually a little mad at each other that Sunday, and so we talked about it in the video.
Go back and see.
Yes.
Look and see the difference compared 2 weeks ago to tonight.
We could have got an Academy Award.
Right,
I think.
but no, because I was not acting.
He was off, and so I have to like fill in whenever he does that. So it freaked me out. But we talked about it. We were real honest with y'all about that. We had issues that week, and that we were struggling.
I wanted to get over it. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to have joy, and I just couldn't. I was I was butthurt. All right, I was butthurt, and it just rolled over into a few days. And even though we were talking through it, and it wasn't something huge, it was simply a misunderstanding. But
it was the stupidest thing. That's what's so funny is that it was like when we look back now, like even trying to explain it to you, we like y'all were arguing
it wasn't
about
stupid. Don't get started again.
But right then it was stupid. I mean, it really was like silly. I mean, it was just like it was a total.
On your part? Yeah, of course.
It was a total perception thing, y'all. Like, and that's what the whole I'm sorry thing is a lot of times. It's that perception because what you think is that. I mean, we argue most of the time when we have our issues. It's over what I think my perception is and what his perception, and I am trying to convince him of that my perception is right.
So
anyway, so Richard said he wanted to do a video about I'm sorry. So that day, so that Sunday, we did our.
Enrique, what's going on, my brother? Good to see you.
So we were going to start to do our video that Sunday, like we normally do. Well, we were still mad, so we got home from church. We kind of went into our own rooms, and so I was in the office. He was in the living room, and then it got to be like 5 o'clock, and then 6 o'clock, and then 7 o'clock, and then I thought I'm not going in there to ask him, hey, do you want to do the video? Because I wasn't going to let him have the opportunity to
spoil it for him.
No, to what's the word?
Sabotage.
No, not sabotage. To
get the upper hand.
Stop. That too. But
take the W.
Stop. I wasn't going to give him the opportunity to reject me. That was what it was. I did not want him to say, no, I'm not doing it. So I thought, well, I'm not going to do it either.
Even in that funk that we were in, and that tip that we were in, I knew it was important for her to do these videos. Pastor Steve, what's up, my brother?
And I wanted to do it consistently.
And it's important to both of us, truthfully.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there, and I knew that we had to do it, but I couldn't get my mind off of the little tip that we were having.
And we even apologized. But right.
We did.
But anyway, so you came into
I told her, I said, hey, I want to do a video about apology because I wanted to go online in front of all of our online friends and sincerely apologize for leaving you hanging 2 weeks ago doing the video because I kind of put it all on you.
So if you go back and watch that video, you'll see that I always talk a lot too, but Richard talks way more than me in real life. But for some reason when we get on the videos, it's like sometimes he's just quiet. And I feel like I have to fill in. Well, that day I thought, oh, he got on here with me, but I feel like I got tricked because now he's like, go ahead, see how you're gonna do by yourself. But he did pick it up and he started talking. But there were parts of it that I was just like ready to just say, sorry guys, we're turning.
But you know what, guys, this is real marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Marriages go through this,
yeah.
and it's something that we have to work through. and not one of us is prone to being so good that it doesn't happen in your marriage. All right, we're all going to go through things, but it's up to us to navigate with the help of God and to pray about things and to be able to talk and work our way through it. All right, and go.
I wasn't gonna give him the satisfaction of saying no, he wasn't doing the video. So I was like, I don't care, we're not doing it. Well, I'll just put on there like technical difficulties. I don't know. I was gonna put something. We're gonna watch a repeat.
Technical difficulties.
Tonight's a repeat show.
His name was Richard.
But he came into my office, and then you go ahead. Could you?
And I said, hey, let's make you want to do the video? And she's all like, well, I was supposed to. I didn't know we were going to do one. And then we got on, and I kind of froze up.
But he did it, and he knew it was important to me to be consistent. It's important to both of us to do the videos, but if we miss one, Richard's like, it's fine. I have that thing that's like, I don't know, it's probably one of my strengths, but it's like if I say I'm going to do it, I want to do it. And so I appreciate that you came in there.
Will you forgive me?
Yes, I forgive you, and I forgive you then too.
Aww.
And so but anyway, just letting y'all know it's real, and that's just real stuff that happens. So one of the things, we're going to do probably several videos about apology and I'm sorry. There's actually a book written about the 5 languages of apology. Dr. Gary Chapman did a whole thing about how people like to be apologized, like what works for some people. We'll get into that. We're going to do that video soon too. But since we've been traveling, we went to South Carolina, we got back, we repacked, we went to Dallas, we did the comedy night. Last night we got to hang out with
Shout
our
out
friends.
to Jason Earls and Bonehampton.
The Wiley Comedy Night. It's like Christian
phenomenal.
uncut. It's clean comedy uncut. So it was great. It was like we get to talk about grown-up stuff, but still with integrity. But we weren't just walking on eggshells. And it was really great to be able to talk about
very well
real stuff.
receptive.
Yeah, it was really good. And so building integrity through apology, saying you're sorry means that you recognize the behavior that you have, your behavior is impacting those around you. Like with marriage, that our behavior is impacting our spouse. And it affects other people. What you say affects other people, you know? What you don't say, how you say it, what you do or don't do, right? Like if he hadn't come in there that night and said that, it would have just been on. Like we would have probably taken it to a whole nother level because I was just thankful that we've gotten to that point, because there was a time that we didn't say I'm sorry quickly, and we would just let it go and build, and then next thing you know, you're on the crazy cycle, and now you're mad about stuff that wasn't even originally what you were mad about, but now it's just building and building, and everybody's trying to prove their point, and pride gets in the way, and then that's when stuff happens, I think, and then you get in bad place.
I remember Jeremy Foster, Pastor Jeremy, was talking about becoming angry. And it's Jimmy says there's the frustration. Jimmy Evans, Pastor Jimmy Evans said you get frustrated before you get angry. Frustration's the first emotion. Or Joel Mom says that frustration is the first emotion, and then anger comes from that. But Pastor Jeremy said that we're angry because we don't get what we want. Plain and simple, we get angry because we're not getting what we want.
Mm-hmm. And I really love that about that. Because I would say, no, I'm angry. But if you really think about it, when you get upset with your spouse, anger usually isn't the thing. It's usually like you're frustrated. It's frustrated. You're frustrated because you're not getting your own way. But then anger is like a secondary emotion. But I'm glad that they kind of broke that down and figured that out. Also, when you apologize, it recognized like other person, whether you did it unintentionally or intentionally did something. It just that you care about that person. That shows them that you care. And so when you came to me and said, let's do the video, it just showed me that he cared, and it really did break down the walls, and like we were able
You know what? The truth behind, I want to get real. I want to get real with this. The truth is, we thought, man, we teach marriage classes, we read all the books, we pray together, we read the Word together, we read the Word separately, we hear scriptures, we hear different sermons.
We know marriage stuff.
We know marriage stuff, and we are still prone to having issues.
Yeah.
And so when it happened, it just caught us off guard. It caught me off guard. And I said, look, if it would happen to us, and we're practicing everything that we're telling everybody else to do, then, this is very important. Man, I want to get on there and I want to apologize online, because I want this to people to know that, man, this is real. This is what we really go through. And, we're all subject to this.
And I love when he does it, because it really makes me know that he cares about me, and that, whether he disappointed me or whatever, just knowing that he cares about us That is super important to me. Now, if the hurt that you did to someone is intentional, then that's a whole deeper complicated thing. That's something you guys really need to talk about, because we lived through that part of our marriage where we were doing intentionally hurting each other, trying to keep score. And
what did my mom used to say, and your mom used to say? Hurting people hurt people. And so we try to have grace with everybody. We try to live, Pastor John told us one time, live unoffended. Do the best that you can to live unoffended. And I thought, man, that is such great advice.
And I thought, well, it offends me that I have to live unoffended.
I'm offended that you're asking me to live unoffended. But, when you say, you know what, I'm going to do my best to live unoffended. Well, now you're saying, God, test me, or Satan, test me in this to see if I can be unoffended. And to try to live to where you're not offended by things that are your surroundings. And it just seems like inevitably you become offended. And I remember when he said that, I thought, you know what? When you take the emotion out of the equation, then it's hard to be offended. And most of the time we can live like that. I say 95% of the time, Sherry and I do really well with not offending one another. And if she says something that is, it's a sore subject, or it pushes a button, then man, I can go there, or I cannot. I could choose to have grace and say, you know what? Not even going to say anything.
Okay, so I think that maybe we could back that up a little bit. So it's not that we don't offend each other, it's that we choose to not let what that person said offend us. Because sometimes Richard's saying that he doesn't even know that he's offending me. But I can either decide to be offended by it, and sometimes you do. If you're hungry, if you're tired, there's a lot of things. Sometimes if you're lonely, like different things can make it even more so, where you're more touchy, and it's hard to live unoffended. But think about that this week. Every time you start to get offended by something, whether it's your spouse, your family member, your kids, whatever, try to live unoffended, and a lot of you might realize, like we did, that man, we really live offended. And that's just kind of how my family was. That's just what we did.
We can look back now and say, well, the reason there was so much anger and so much frustration and so much hurt and disappointment was, I was out drinking all the time. I was hanging around people that I shouldn't have been hanging around. I was doing things that weren't benefiting our marriage. I was saying stuff that was hurtful. I was doing things that were hurtful. Intentionally. And if you were doing this every single day, then how do we expect to build our marriage and for it to be everything that God has called it to be? It just doesn't work like that. We have to intentionally get on the right track. But you know what? That was all a series of bad decisions. And if you're in a habit of making bad decisions, well, until you start to make a good decision every now and then, and for me, I thought, I can't make a good decision. It is beyond my capability to make a good decision.
And he would tell me that. I can't do anything right. I can't,
But guess what? As we start to do it, man, all of a sudden you start to build good decisions. You start to make good decisions, and you're planting good seed, and that harvest starts to come. You start to get that crop. But we have to get rid of the bad decision making, and we can't be doing things that are detrimental to a marriage. Somebody's got to say, hey, why are we going through this? And talk about these issues that are destroying us.
Well, and one of the things that has been a big thing for Richard and I, because we're both strong personalities, is that needs to be right. To be the one that wins.
Man.
Like, we have to, at all costs. Right. And most of the time when we were arguing, I wasn't even hearing what he was saying. I was just waiting for him to finish, because I'm like, oh, I was working on my dialogue, what was about to come. I wasn't even hearing him, because I was thinking about what my comeback was going to be. And so when you say you're sorry, and we would never say we're sorry. We would just do a standoff, because then it just showed that one person was wrong.
I was just ready for her to admit that it was her fault.
Yeah, no, anyhow.
And then what happens? So you come up and you're like, you know what? I'm sorry. It was my fault.
Yeah.
Now what? Ha! I was right. Told ya. Well, now what? Wow, great. Wow, that really made us both feel so much better, right? And then in the end...
But when he started coming to me, because we were going to marriage classes, and they were talking about apologizing, being the first one, the more mature one is the one that comes first. Oh, and I thought, it's still hard, because I had so much pride. So he would come to tell me he was sorry, but then I would get mad that he told me first, because then again, here he is, he's winning. It's so stupid. So saying you're sorry avoids the cycle of having to always be right. are fighting about who is right. Now, if it's something factual, now sometimes I am a literal person. So if you say that you're going to do this, this, and this, that's what I hear. I believe it. Literally, that's what it is. And so we have a big struggle in that area. Even now, we did it tonight, just about dinner when we got home from our trip. Just about literal stuff. Like, I just thought we were going to do the video. He thought we were going to make dinner, and I thought I'd already bought dinner before we left to make salad. And so just little things. But I thought that if we said we're going home to make the video, literally that's what we were going home to do, not stop to make fish dinner. And so
it was good, y'all.
But if it's something factual, so I will push a point about factual. Like, I will do it probably past the point of that I should, because if it's something I know is a fact, like what you have for dinner, I'll just sit there and argue with you until you're like, no, it was wrong. It's just my personality. I can't help it. So I've been really working on that. But if it's something that is just like we said, about your perception of it, you could sit there and try forever to convince that person. We have done it. We did it last week when we were trying to say we were sorry, but then talking about what the reason was, and then we started to get mad again because he didn't understand my how I saw it, and what he meant by it meant something else.
So she would explain the way she heard it and saw it, and so I said no, and I had to explain the way I said it.
So we kept saying no,
no, this is what, no, and it just kept going, the crazy cycle. We were on it. Didn't even recognize it. We were on it.
But so your perception is your truth, but it's not anyone else's. That's your perception is yours. So if you fight about who's right all the time, your relationship
Roxana Phillips, what's up, girl? She made us look so good for the Spark Conference.
Yes, Roxana Phillips. Y'all check her out. Roxana Phillips, like her page. She, I don't know if it's a page. It's like it's your.
That's what she does.
Yeah, I mean, it's just she does a live video like every day, y'all. Like every day without makeup on. Then she does it, and then she's like.
And you want to talk about real? She's got kids running in the background, makeup's flying everywhere, and man.
And then she just like ta-da at the end, you know.
That's it.
Also, if you're always fighting about who's right, the person that's wrong always feels defensive, and that's what we went through. Is that we would just get defensive, and which we talked about earlier, which then we get offended, which then that whole crazy cycle starts, and then we might fight harder the next time because we want to make sure the next time that we're right. So it's just crazy how marriage is.
It is.
And then you end up both being lonely in your position because neither one of you wins. You're both feeling lonely.
I was planking when I was sleeping. I was planking.
So we heard one time,
I was laying there.
Do not touch me.
Like that. Don't touch me.
Did you just breathe?
Yeah.
And so when you're married, if your spouse if he loses, then you lose. If I lose, he loses. I mean, we're in this together. We're one. So it's not whether one wins or loses. When one loses, we both lose, you know?
That's right.
But when we win, we both win.
That is so good, Coach.
So saying you're sorry builds trust and mutual respect. And it's simple. You just take responsibility for your actions. That's what I just love. Like whenever either one of us will come to each other and say, we're sorry. And it's just, I need that. I need that whole, no, I need you to be, because my my apology language is, don't tell me you're sorry, show me you're sorry. I need to see it in action. So when you actually come to me and you take responsibility for it and you actually try to make things better, that to me speaks my language. Right. And you also tell your spouse that they matter. I mean, that's just telling them, like when he came to me last Sunday, that just made me feel like he just went to a whole nother level. Even though we weren't completely over it, it just felt good. That's right. Saying sorry goes a long way, said Roxana. Y'all, I keep messing with my hair because normally I go and I have a blowout by the ladies at Blank Canvas every week because they're awesome. Shout out to them. But we were out of town, so I had to do my own hair, and so I had to try to use a straightener thing, and it looks crazy. So,
yeah, I had to do my own hair too.
So I keep looking at it going, what is going on? Like I got like Marsha Brady hair. Okay, and you're also telling someone else showing someone else what it feels like to receive whenever you say you're sorry.
It's a good feeling.
And when in marriage, we talk about this, is that your spouse is going to disappoint you. So if you go to your spouse and you say, I'm never going to do that again, that is like the worst thing that you can say in marriage because you're going to disappoint them again. You know, maybe in that area you're thinking, I'm never going to do it again, but that was where we probably had our biggest problems, and I don't even know how we made it through because I'm very literal. And when Richard would come to me and say, "I'm sorry, I'm never going to do that again," I promise. And then it happened again. I just felt like, man, I just cannot trust. Like my trust felt like it was always being broken.
You promised. And I'm like, oh, I did, didn't I? Like, well, I guess I broke that promise.
And so we know that the other person is.
That was a bummer.
Yeah.
Took the L for that one.
The L, the loser. Oh.
Yeah.
What else was I going to say? So I wrote down a couple notes because. Okay, so sometimes it's just little things that we didn't mean to do, like I meant to run an errand for you, or I forgot to do something, those kind of things. But maybe sometimes just because they're really busy and you're not doing it on purpose. But even then, it just feels good whenever we tell each other we're sorry. That we're sorry.
I can tell you this for sure. The more that we're talking to one another, the more that we're praying with each other, the more that we're reading the Word together, the more that we're sharing activities together, the less time there is arguing. There's more grace, and there's more mercy, and there's more forgiveness because we're spending quality time with each other. And that, some people, it might not be their love language, but marriage, that's what marriage is, spending time together. It's not two people living in the same house, living apart. It's two people living in the same house, living together. And that togetherness is what brings us closer. And the miscommunication and the anger and the frustration, that's what pushes us apart. And it's so sad to see people living in the house as roommates,
and separated, isolated from each other.
And the more they talk, the more they fight. And I just want you to realize that if you guys can't speak through things without arguing and fighting, y'all are in a very dangerous place. You're on a slippery slope because it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. You have to be able to come and humble yourself before each other. Humble yourself before God and just say, you know what? I'm sorry that this is happening in our marriage, and I'm at fault with a lot of it, and own it, all right? And then say, but you know what? I know that if Richard and Sherry can turn their marriage around by the grace of God, so can we. Because, guys, it was bad. You know our story and the issues with the drugs and the alcohol and the pornography and the partying and the fighting and the death with our family, and oh my gosh,
and the kids and
we should be a statistic again. We should be divorced, but because we did what we're asking you to do, God saved our marriage, and He'll do it for you as well.
And if you're in a marriage right now and you're not arguing and fighting all the time, but you're not communicating and it's not a good marriage, and you're just living in the same house isolated, that's probably even worse. At least if you're arguing and fighting, you're trying to get it out. At least you're trying to get to that point.
You know what? I want to make sure when we talk about that too, the arguing and the fighting, because I grew up where negative attention was still attention. So I thought it was good even though it was bad. Even though we were arguing and fighting, and I'm not talking about with you, I'm talking about with my first spouse. It was a fight, a verbal argument every single day of our marriage, basically. But man, that's what I was used to, and I thought that was normal. I thought that's the way marriage was supposed to be, and it's not.
And every time we would have an argument, I thought we were breaking up. Like, I thought we were getting divorced.
And I thought, what's wrong with you?
I wasn't used to that because I was used to you don't deal with your stuff, you just pretend. And so every time we'd have this thing, I thought, oh my gosh, he's leaving. We're gonna get divorced. It's the end of it. And I didn't understand that you could have conflict and marriage and still be okay, and you could get through it. And I think some of it too comes with how did your family do it? Like, look back to so many things in marriage goes back to our family of origin, like our first family. Like, how was it when you were growing up? Whoever it is that raised you, what did that look like as far as saying I'm sorry and apology? My family, they never said they were sorry about something, and then everybody wouldn't talk to each other, and then I guess enough time would pass where everybody had suffered enough, and then my parents never said they were sorry to me, but then they would come and start doing nice things, and my dad would all of a sudden be nice now. He wasn't angry anymore, and as a kid I didn't know. I just thought, well, he would buy me stuff or do whatever to make up for it, but I never really heard those words, I'm sorry. And so it was really difficult for me to say. My sisters and I still have difficulty with each other saying we're sorry, and so I really had difficulty with Richard to tell him I'm sorry. But when we tell our spouses we're sorry, that's a gift, y'all. Like, we're giving them a free gift. Like, that is, it's a gift that comes, it's like a trust, and it's given out, it's respect for the relationship. Like, it's a gift. So when he does that to me, or when I do that to him, it's just a thing. It doesn't mean that it's a sign of weakness or a sign of that we've lost power or status. It's actually a sign of strength.
That's right.
Yep.
Maybe that's good stuff.
So Roxana, he hates conflict. I know, and a lot of people don't like
that
conflict.
Men hate
they don't
conflict.
want it. Richard,
because it makes us feel like we're doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that we've learned in these marriage classes, and one of them, has to deal with men gravitating to where they're a success at. Like, why does my husband always want to go play golf? Why does he always want to go to the gym? Why does he always want to be competitive? Why is he always gone? Why does he work so much? Because that's where we're getting our kudos. That's where we're getting our win. That's where we're getting our trophies. That's where our treasure is. And if we're having a hard time in our marriage at home, then man, we're failing. And internally, we don't want to fail. Nobody was created to fail, man or woman. We weren't created to fail. We were created to succeed and love and honor and respect and grow with one another as a culture, not just a husband and wife, but as a culture. And I just see how the world is just turning, and everybody can just badmouth everybody, and
everybody's offended.
Everybody's angry, and everybody's mad, and everybody's doing each other wrong. And that's not the way we were created. And man, if we buy into that hype, folks, we're going to be subject to that same ridicule and those same temperaments that's happening in the world. I mean, we've got to be different than that. We've got to show them that, hey, look, there's a better way to live. There's an honest way to live. And this is the way we want to do it.
And we can. It has to start at home, y'all. It has to start with our spouse. And Roxana was saying that he hates conflict, and we say it a lot of times. We've been saying it in our marriage class for years. We say it on these videos, and that is, without conflict, there is no growth. So don't shy away from conflict. It's how you how you deal with conflict. And we talk about them in our videos, different ones. We're going to do more videos about conflict. We've done some in the past. Go back and you can see that we've got 40. I think this is number 40 tonight. Number 40 videos, y'all. That's huge for us to be this consistent. Okay, it's great. But there's different things that you can learn how to fight well and how to fight fair. And how to realize that the more that we start going through things, the things that we tried to avoid before, it just seemed like it just perpetuated us getting to the place where we are right now. It just held us back. Once we started dealing with stuff and getting through it and get through the tears and the hurt and the crying and the stuff, that's when we started to heal and we started to deal and things got better, and it's like a whole new world. God's just been waiting for us. The enemy's just such a liar. He'll just keep you in such bondage.
And you know what? We have never given homework. We're going to give y'all homework this week.
Oh, yeah.
Make each other's spouse a champion this week. Make your spouse a champion this week. Whatever they're doing, that's our time.
So what does that look like? Paint.
Let's just say that your spouse, your husband, works 13 hours a day. And he's gone from the time you wake up to the time you get home. You don't see him. The kids don't see him. But that's where he's getting his success, is at work, because he feels that it's not as successful at home. Thank him for working so hard. Thank him for taking care of his family. Thank him for loving his family enough to work that hard. But then slip in but you know what? We miss you, and we'd like to see you at home every now and then. And don't put any pressure on him to, you know what, you're supposed to go play golf this weekend, but I'd rather you stay home. Not like that. Just say, you know what, we miss you. And whenever you can spend some time with us, we would appreciate that. If your wife is always, if she's a stay-at-home mom and she's working around the house and she's getting everything and the kids, thank her for doing that and honor her for doing that, and tell her she's a champion at what she does and that there's no other wife and mom that could do what she does. And you thank her for that. And let's just start thanking each other for the little stuff. Even if it's small, they put the toothpaste cap back. Hey, thank you for putting the Let's start recognizing this week the 1 or 2 or 5 houses doing and bring that
out. And what
out.
happens with that, when you start to get into that, it's just a habit, like going to the gym. When you start to recognize little things, they might be like, okay, he's breathing, that's good. Okay, hey, glad you're breathing. But little by little, it starts to build. You'll see how it starts to build on each other, and they'll start to feel good. You'll start to feel good. And Richard never used to want to come. I used to be complaining all the time because he was gone all the time. Now it's like, you're home, it's 2:00 in the afternoon, and he's like, I love being at home, but it's changed. So I know that it works. When you make your spouse a champion, when we learn to say we're sorry, when we become an expert in marriage, you always hear us talking about that. Just keep fighting the good fight. We keep fighting the good fight, and Just
share our videos.
Yes,
like
please.
our videos.
Yes.
And what else?
Yes. So we have a YouTube page that we have these videos on. We don't even, like I said before, we don't know really how to get that all going, but we put them on there every week. Everybody seems to be watching them on Facebook, but if you get a chance, go on YouTube and The Real Brights. We're The Real Brights on social media, and we're on Instagram. So
thank you very much. We love you guys. We're praying for you.
This Friday. It's Houston. This is September what's today? The 16th. So September the 20th, this Friday, 2019, we are doing a gospel comedy night at the India House in Houston. If you go onto our page, The Real Brides on Facebook, you can see the flyer, and there's a link so you can buy tickets to that.
All right. So we'll see you Friday night. Come on out and support us.
Yeah. See ya. Peace
Love
out.
ya.
See
Bye.
Bye.